Good evening, beautiful royal family. We're going to jump right into this. I need everyone to please open your Bibles to the 1611 King James Version Bible with the Apocrypha, and I need you to go to 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 and verse 1, please. The book of 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 1. And here it is. Now, I'm going to say this right now. Everybody under the sound of my voice, everybody needs to have their Bibles open. I know so many of you wanted to discuss the Montgomery riverboat incident, but what has taken place has trumped that. Family, please read along with me. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 and verse 1. But of the times and the seasons, brethren, speaking to the Israelites, ye have no need that I write unto you. For when they shall say, peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. Family, take a look at this.
Continuing to follow that breaking news right now on what could be a historic step towards peace in the Middle East. We brought you this earlier in the show, but now we're getting some new information.
The U.S. and Saudi Arabia have agreed on a tentative deal for Saudi Arabia to officially recognize Israel. Newsmax correspondent Daniel Cohen live in Tel Aviv with details. Daniel.
Yeah, good morning, Sean. Good morning, Emma. Historic, enormous, huge, right? And all of those words are apropos to describe what we're talking about here. Let me just set the table for you in case you're just catching up, okay? The U.S. and Saudi Arabia have agreed on the broad contours of a deal for Saudi Arabia to recognize Israel in exchange for concession to the Palestinians. Also, Saudi Arabia wants U.S. security guarantees, and I think this is the bigger thing for them, help with their civilian nuclear program. Now, that is according to U.S. officials who were quoted off the record. And as you said, and you set this up the right way, a lot of this is not a done deal yet. In fact, the White House, we're hearing off the record expressing cautious optimism that something can be done in the next 9 to 12 months. But they have gone from hammering out larger details to some of the finer details. Listen, I've heard people here in Israel, people I respect and admire, that know Middle East foreign policy way more than I do, call it the mother of all Middle East peace deals. The Saudi Crown Prince, Mohammed bin Salman, a man in his late 30s, the de facto ruler of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. He's been meeting in Jeddah for the last few weeks, in fact, months, with Jake Sullivan, President Biden's national security advisor, trying to get these talks moving. So now we're hearing they're talking specifics. So the significant concession from Israel would be help promoting the creation of a Palestinian state. That's what they're saying. I have to tell you, I am not hearing that at all here in Israel. In return, the United States would be pressing Saudi Arabia to impose limits on its growing relationship with China. Now, Prime Minister Netanyahu, I've been checking his Twitter. I've been checking anything. He hasn't said anything publicly yet. But since I've been here in Israel and recovering this for you here in Newsmax, he has said publicly there is no way that he will give up an inch of sovereign Israeli soil to create a Palestinian state. He has said he's willing to make moderate or light concessions. What does that mean? I don't know, but that's antithetical to the ultra-Orthodox that serve in the Knesset right now, ministers to Bibi's right, who say openly that they don't want to create a Palestinian state. They want to take land back from the Palestinians, including the Temple Mount. So this is very big news. We're still waiting to see specific details, but if there's a deal in principle between the United States brokering, obviously this is huge. And on the heels of the Abraham Accords, probably the highest accomplishment of President Trump, because it brought peace between Israel, Bahrain, the UAE, Morocco, and Sudan. Some people said if President Trump would have won a second term, or if he was still president, that this Saudi deal would have already been done. That's neither here nor there. But President Biden clearly riding some of the momentum, some of the I guess, greasing the skids, maybe a better term, but of the Abraham Accords and all the success that we've seen in trade and business there, economic partnership. But a deal with Saudi Arabia, recognizing Israel and bringing some sort of peace here, is enormous. Sean, Emma, back to you.
Israel, did y'all just see that? I know we talk all the time about being in the last days. That's the prime indicator of where we are in the book. The prime indicator. Family, this is so true that it can't, if anybody was to deny it, they should lock them up in a freaking crazy house. They should. Everything that the Bible has said was going to happen is happening. Everything. Even last week, the Montgomery thing, and we'll deal with that next week. Right now, family, at this very moment, the U.S., Israel, and Saudi Arabia signed a peace treaty that the Bible said would happen. Just like we talked about last week, these chariots that's going to be all over the place that the Bible said would happen. We're in the last days. In the last days. This is not a time to play around. This is definitely a time for you to make sure that all of your ducks are in a row, that you're keeping all the commandments, and that you're really teaching your children and your family what's about to happen. Because I'm going to be very honest with you, you're not going to see them. You're not going to see them very long. We're here. We're here. It's happening all around us. And for those who are on the fence, you're still swinging, you're about to die. I'm just telling you. I cannot send this warning any more than what I'm doing right now. You're going to die. You're going to die. For all of you sisters who still refuse to put on a dress, it won't come up out them pants, you're about to die. For all of you brothers who are still dealing with womanizing and things of that nature, anything, any sin, male or female, if you're still caught up in that, you are about to die. If you are dealing with people in your life that's not in the truth and you're still connected to them, you're going to die. And do you know how? Better question, do you know why? Because you don't listen. We have been talking about this here for so long. For the past 4 years, I've been telling you, and many of you are still in the same spot where you were 4 years ago. I'm telling you. Family, I want you to please open your Bibles now to the book of Daniel, chapter 8. We're going to read Daniel 8. So I understand that many people do not understand when it comes to these end time prophecies and stuff like that. And don't worry, I'm going to break this here down so that you can have a full understanding of what this is. But this lesson is not going to be long, all right? I am going to go through this here and we are going to have the understanding. And then after we are done, y'all really got some work to do. I'm dead serious. Y'all got work to do. All right, family, let's go. Daniel chapter 8, verse 1. In the 3rd year of the reign of King Belshazzar, a vision appeared unto me. Even unto me, Daniel, after that which appeared unto me at the first. So this is talking about Daniel, and Daniel is having a vision. He's seeing the future. He's seeing the coming events of what's going to take place on this planet. And yes, Daniel is a black man, an Israelite from the tribe of Judah. He's ours. Let's continue. And I saw in a vision, and it came to pass when I saw that I was at Shushan in the palace, which is in the province of Elam, and I saw in a vision, and I was by the river of Ulai. So now, for those of you who are unfamiliar with the terms, Elam is simply Iran. That's all it is. It is the country of Iran. And the river of Elam, of Ulai, the river of Ulai, that's in southwestern Iran. All of these places are still here. They're still the same. But you have to remember, the Most High, he said, I don't change. He gave those names then. So which means that those are still the names today. Remember, man changed the names. The Most High never changed it. So when we're reading the scriptures, we have to remember we are reading what the Most High said, not what man changed, what he said. But this area is still talking about Iran. Still talking, same place. All right, let's continue. Verse 3. Then I lifted up mine eyes and saw, and behold, there stood before the river a ram, which had two horns, and the two horns were high, but one was higher than the other, and the higher came up last. So now, when y'all think about the countries over there in the Middle East, you have some that are higher than others. You have Iran, you have Iraq, you have Saudi Arabia, you have Palestine. You got to think about all those different things. and the hierarchy and the positions of power over there. This is not talking about here in America right now. This is simply talking about over there. So you know how their hierarchy and everything is set up. Okay, let's continue. I saw the ram pushing westward. That's going to mean something. I saw the ram pushing westward and northward and southward, so that no beast might stand before him. Neither was there any that could deliver out of his hand, but he did according to his will and became great. So what does that mean? So now this is a country with great power, great power. And as you saw, he was dominating all over the place, right? All right, so now I'm going to continue. And as I was considering, behold, an he-goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth. That right there should tell you exactly who it is. And touched not the ground, and the goat had a notable horn between his eyes. Right here, right there, between the eyes, the little horn, the little horn. And he came to the ram that had two horns, which I had seen standing before the river, and ran unto him in the fury of his power. Now you got to remember that Daniel is seeing all this stuff right now. Daniel is seeing everything. He is strong right now in his vision. Very strong. Very, very strong. So he's having this vision here, and he's really trying to comprehend what's going on. All right, but let's continue. Let's continue. Verse 5. Well, actually, verse 6, excuse me. And he came to the ram that had two horns, which I had seen standing before the river, and ran unto him in the fury of his power. And I saw him come close unto the ram, and he was moved with choler against him, and smote the ram, and brake his two horns. And there was no power in the ram to stand before him, but he cast him down to the ground and stamped upon him. And there was none that could deliver the ram out of his hand. What is that talking about? Do you remember at one time when the world was absolutely deathly afraid of Iran and Saudi Arabia? Remember all that stuff that was going on back there? And then what happened? What happened? The most. You know what? I'm going to say it. The Most High had America go over there and whoop their ass. Beat them. Destroy them. Went over there, took their oil, took their resources, everything. Dominated them. All the way to this very day. And now look. Let's continue. Verse 8. Therefore, the he-goat waxed very great. And when he was strong, the great horn was broken. And for it came up four notable ones toward the four winds of heaven. And out of them came forth a little horn, which waxed exceeding great, toward the south, and toward the east, and toward the pleasant land. So now let's go ahead and break this all the way down. So there was a time when the British was in power. And the British was destroying everything. And all that stuff over there in the Middle East, the whole 9 yards, it was over there tearing all of that up. Then there was this little group that broke away from Britain. This little group that broke away. And they decided that they wanted to go to a new land and become the world power that everybody would be absolutely terrified of. And that place became America. That's who this is talking about, from the West. That's why I didn't want to say anything then when I was like, the Most High had America go over there and tear the ass up, because I wanted to take it in that order, but it already came out too late. We're reading history, documented history that was in the Bible first, telling us what was going to happen in the last days, and here we are. Let's continue. And it waxed great, even to the host of heaven. And it cast down some of the hosts and of the stars to the ground and stamped upon them. This is talking about war now. Yea, he magnified himself even to the prince of the host. And by him the daily sacrifice was taken away. And the place of his sanctuary was cast down. And an host was given him against the daily sacrifice by reason of transgression. And it cast down the truth to the ground, and it practiced and prospered. The truth. Did a certain race of people come through and bring the world Christianity and its other little subsidiary false religions and doctrines and things of that nature? Did that happen on earth? And then I heard one saint speaking. And another saint said unto that certain saint which spake, How long shall the vision concerning the daily sacrifice and the transgression of desolation, to give both the sanctuary and the host to be trodden underfoot? And he said unto me, unto 2,300 days. There stood before me as the appearance of a man. And I heard a man's voice between the banks of Ulai, which called and said, Gabriel, Gabriel, make this man to understand the vision. So now that was a directive that came from the heavens down to the angel Gabriel that went directly to who? Daniel. Because Daniel sees somebody right now. Daniel's like, yo, I see this race on the bank. Because that person represents a race. He said, I see this race. I see who it is. Watch this. Got to see this. Watch this. So he came near where I stood. And when he came, I was afraid. Because remember, everybody in the scriptures that has come in contact with a heavenly host has always fell down to the ground face first. Now in Christianity, what do? They start catching the Holy Ghost, and fall backwards. That's a lie. Again, in opposition of what God does with his children. God's true children fall forwards. Christianity and the devil's children, they fall backwards. That ought to tell you everything right there. All right, again. So he came near where I stood, and when he came, I was afraid and fell upon my face. But he said unto me, Understand, O son of man, for at the time of the end shall be the vision. So now you know what Daniel is seeing. He's seeing these last days. Now, as he was speaking with me, I was in a deep sleep on my face toward the ground. But he touched me and said, Upright. So when he saw the angel, that nigga fainted. Fell right out. And then the angel had the power to wake him up and said, Nigga, get up. Get up. You ain't no bitch. Get up. Verse 19. And he said, Behold, I will make thee know what shall be in the last end of the indignation. For at the time appointed, the end shall be. That's talking about right now. Did you hear what Gabriel said? Did you hear when that end was? When this peace treaty took place. We're here right now. Here. In the last days. Let's continue. The ram which thou sawest having two horns are the kings of Media and Persia. So Maliss and Persia, like we already talked about. We talked about what, like 2 weeks ago? Or last week, whichever one it was. But that's still that same area over there in Iran. That same area, that Middle East. The Middle East. The Middle East. I think y'all already picked up on this. And the rough goat is the king of Grecia. Who is that? Greek. Who are the Greeks? Edomites. Who are the Edomites? Caucasians. Who are the Caucasians? White people. from the West. It's America. It's America that came and dominated all of the earth. All of the earth it dominated. You can't make this up. You can't make this up. It's 100% true. You can try to make it up. It's not going to do you any good. We're speaking the truth right now. This is the absolute truth. All right, so let's continue. Verse 21 again. And the rough goat is the king of Grecia, and the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king. Out of all the nations on the earth, all of them, excluding Israel, because we're not in power right now, who stands on top of all the nations? The President of the United States, which you saw in that treaty. The President of the United States was with the fake Jews and the people in that region that have been fighting for that land forever. What did the Most High tell us? He said that we will return back to our land. That's getting ready to happen. And don't pack no bags. We get everything new. Verse 22. Now that being broken, whereas 4 stood up for it, 4 kingdoms shall stand up out of the nation, but not in his power. Russia, China, US, and the Arabian provinces. Everything, all the wars and everything that has been spoken about China and Russia, and the US is involved. Whew. So y'all know we're about to go to war, right? For us Israelites, the only thing that we got to do is just sit back and watch. But for some of you, y'all still got a lot of work to do. And even those of us that's going to sit back and watch, we still have work to do too. But the thing with this here is happening. Not getting ready to happen. It's happening now. Let's continue. All right, where we leave off at? Right here, verse 23. And in the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressors are come to the full, a king of fierce countenance and understanding dark sentences shall stand up. And people are sitting there thinking that's talking about the Antichrist. There's going to be this one guy that just comes out and is like, with everybody. No. That is talking about the world power in the end. Who is that world power, family? Who is it? And his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. And he shall destroy wonderfully, and shall prosper and practice, and shall destroy the mighty and the holy people. Wow! So wait a second. So here it is that these Edomites are going to continue to try to kill, not even try, they will be successful at killing our people. Now, last week during the Montgomery River Brawl, what happened there was Esau had their pride stuffed inside the cavity of their ass. And now these prideful children are pissed. So what's about to happen is that they are going to retaliate. We don't give a damn about the retaliation. Do whatever you want to do. You're still not going to beat us, but they're mad. You witnessed that last week, and we're going to get deeper into that next week. But this here takes the cake. Let's continue. Let's continue. Where we leave it. All right, verse 25. And through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. By peace. He's a liar. He's a liar, a cunning liar. And that's what you just saw in that video. He shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand. And the vision of the evening and the morning, which was told, is true. And it's absolutely true. Wherefore shut thou up the vision, for it shall be for many days. So that was all the way back then. All those many days are over, because now we are in them. And I, Daniel, fainted and was sick. Certain days afterward, I rose up and did the king's business, and I was astonished at the vision, but none understood it. You see that? Because it was saved for this day, for us to understand. These last days, nobody would have been able to understand that all the way back then. These last days, we fully get it. Why? Because we see it all around us. We're watching the news. We're seeing these things. We are seeing the visions that our brother Daniel saw. So family, this is not a time to play around. Get right. Go.